Hey everyone, this is Zach Erickson from Nintendo Dads here. It's a couple of days now. Today is hang on, I'm recording this on my phone, pardon my thing. It's June 27th. A couple of days since the news that Desmond Omafa, aka Etika, that his body was found by New York police, and that it was determined that he had died by suicide. And I wanted to take a minute and I don't have anything really written down. I've been taking the last couple of days to sort of process what's been going on and think about it and think what an appropriate response would be. I'm actually sitting at work. For those of you who are maybe new to the channel or have found this in other places or whatever, when Nintendo Dad started, it was before I even decided to go back to school to become a psychologist. I am now a psychologist, and so I figured I would, just come in and talk about this, given the intersection of these two different areas of my life, both being really relevant here. Etika was somebody who I had seen online. His reaction videos for the longest time have been legendary, and I think within Nintendo circles have been something that I've really enjoyed watching, and for a long time as well. I know that a friend of mine who has been online for a long, and he was on the show back when I was on Nintendo Dads. Roger was Roger's bass. I know that they were good friends, and so this is a kind of thing that hit me really hard when I found out a couple of days ago, and I immediately was like, wait a minute, I hadn't seen much. I don't spend nearly as much time online as I used to, but I immediately looked up and found, got caught up on the news of everything that had happened with him over the past, really since probably last October, and a lot had happened all kind of in sequence, and he had a very public falling, there's just a lot of it, like a very public struggle with mental health, I guess is the way you could put it. And it was hard to watch. I watched his video that was uploaded about a week ago, and it was a lot. I mean, it's all out there to see, but I think that it's important to, I guess, I wouldn't necessarily recommend watching it if you're not up for watching essentially a video suicide note, which is what that was. It was hard to watch, but it was also I feel like, at least for myself, it's something that is a very real part of life that we hope that we wish wasn't around, right? Mental illness is such a hard thing, and I wanted to make this video for two reasons. One, to honor who Etika was, and I feel like in moments like this, people, with the kinds of things that happened very much in the public eye, people saw Etika doing things that were not him. Right? They were not him, and he was sick. He was sick, and not in a very similar kind of way that if somebody had some sort of pulmonary disease, that they would have difficulty breathing. He had mental illness, and that is something that was absolutely a dysfunction in the brain, and it's just exactly the same thing. The only difference is that when you have difficulties in the heart or in the lungs, right, I went with pulmonary, right? So if you have sickness in the lungs, you cough, or you have a hard time breathing. When you have illness in the brain, it's something that is we don't even understand everything that's going on yet, right? As far as like neuroscience, yes, we know there are antidepressants that help, and therapy helps, and having good support systems around you helps, but that doesn't mean that it was some sort of a character flaw on his part. And I think it's important to know that, first of all, looking at him and appreciating him for who he was, and not for what that mental illness how that mental illness led him to behave in the last parts of his life. He was so much more than those things. And I've taken some time over the last couple of days to watch back some of his reaction videos and things like that, and remind myself of the joy that he brought to me personally. And I hope that you know, as we're remembering him, that's important to remember him for who he was, and appreciate and celebrate that. I think as well that, I mean, he wasn't perfect. Nobody's perfect. But I think that it's important to know that he was a real person, and he struggled. And you really see that in that last moment of, you know, I think it's important to know that around suicide, that suicide is usually just somebody, it's not that the person wants to die, it's that the person feels hopeless and trapped and doesn't want to suffer anymore, doesn't want to feel the way they're feeling anymore. And I think that is the second reason I wanted to make this video, is because if there is anybody out there, and I know that there's so many people out there right now that are making videos like this on YouTube, but as a psychologist, I think one of the things that is most important for me personally and for the people that I work with is that depression and anxiety can make it feel like something that is not true is true. It can make it feel like the world would be better off without you. But there is a logical part of your brain and an emotional part of your brain. And that emotional part of your brain just kind of takes over. But it's not very good at being accurate. It's not a good, trustworthy source of information. It feels true, but it's not true. The world would never be better off without you. The world is definitely not better off without Etika. It's a loss that we're all feeling. And so it's important to know that I think it's worth considering if you are struggling with suicidal thoughts, with depression, with anxiety, with anything, any sort of mental illness, and it feels like the world would be better off without you, or if it feels like it would be better if you ended your life, really think about just the question of, just let the possibility sink in. What if you're wrong? What if you're wrong? And what if, 6 months from now, let's say instead you reach out to somebody, you talk to someone, you get some support and help, and you give yourself a second chance, and what if it turned out that the world was a better place because of you? What if the world was a place full of opportunities? And at the very least, what if there was at least one person in your life who would miss you? And in this case, there is an entire audience of people, an entire group of people online that absolutely will miss Etika. And it's hard. It's hard because this is it's a sickness, right? It's a mental illness, and it's so tragic that this kind of thing would happen. But it's an important reminder of the humanity behind every single person that is behind an internet handle, right? Etika was a human being first, and there were so many people who treated him like garbage and treated him like just this person who was there for their entertainment, and it took such a huge toll, that combined with the mental illness, and we're here where we are today. So have love and understanding and compassion and know that you're not alone, right? And these people that you're watching on YouTube or on social media, there's a person behind that, and they're probably struggling. Most YouTubers who are as active as as like who have it as a full-time gig, it's a hard job, and it's something, there's a constant pressure. And again, I think that it's always worth putting your own opinions, your own worries, your own whatever, your own baggage, put it aside and remember that there's somebody else on the other side of the line. And if you're personally struggling, reach out to someone. There are so many resources available that you can find that are there for you. A loved one, somebody who, it doesn't even matter if, I know a lot of times people feel like they're a burden, and you're not a burden, right? If you had a friend who was struggling, you would support them, and your friends will support you, or your loved ones, or if you don't have anyone else, a perfect stranger, right? A support line, a psychologist or a therapist or a social worker, anyone. And just live day by day if you need to, and things will get better, but they're not going to get better if you give up. And I know that I have seen it happen. So anyways, that's all I really wanted to say. I don't want to drag this on for too long, but I appreciate everybody who's who's in this online community. It impacts everyone, and this is a moment for all of us to sort of appreciate each other, appreciate the community that we have, and also just to remember what kind of people we want to be online. And take care of yourselves, everyone. Appreciate you, and we'll see you soon.